but we've also seen groups of state attorneys general bringing cases. And then we also have private litigation between Epic Games and Apple that also deal with concerns related to antitrust. When it comes to what could happen after these cases, particularly if we ultimately see these structural remedies and these breakups, if you see a situation where Facebook has to spin off Instagram and WhatsApp into completely separate entities, I think the question is not only would you see any increase in these things that typically benefit consumers, such as innovation, but would you actually see harm to consumers in some ways from these now smaller companies that don't have the same resources that the previous company did, as well as the fact that are you going to see a change in the ability of startups to have different exit strategies? So is this going to have a greater chilling effect on mergers and acquisitions more generally, now that we have this idea that retroactive hindsight review can be applied? It's important to note when both WhatsApp and Instagram were acquired, they received additional scrutiny. And at the time, that not only were they approved, but if you look at the press around it, these were not seen as sure bets for Facebook. In fact, they were basically made fun of in some cases when it came to Instagram, that Facebook had paid too much for this. So I think there are a couple of questions there. The first question would be, what do these separate apps have to actually look like? Does this mean that spinning off WhatsApp means that Facebook can't also have its Messenger app because then it's in the same space? These are the type of questions that are going to require a judge to really have to oversee any decisions, and it's going to really impact very minute business decisions in some ways. The other question then is also, what sort of resources do these companies have to assist in some of the other tech policy problems that sometimes get lumped in with antitrust? Things that aren't antitrust concerns, aren't competition concerns, aren't best addressed by antitrust law, but that policymakers and consumers may be concerned about. Things such as privacy or content moderation. Is a smaller WhatsApp that no longer has the resources from Facebook's ad revenue going to have to engage in some sort of advertising behavior itself? Is Instagram going to have the same resources to deploy tools for content moderation when it's dealing with a smaller staff that it can rely on? So I think those are questions we need to really carefully consider, is not just what would these breakups do in terms of the business model, but what would these breakups do to the consumer experience?